Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host Redbird. With me is BDLG. I knew we were gonna have problems, Bordy. It's been a long time since we recorded a podcast.
Yeah,
completely out of practice. We did not forget about the podcast. We have a lot going on, or for the past several months, we've had a lot going on in the studio loot world. So time has been an issue, but we're back. We got a lot to talk about now. At least this will probably be like a 5-hour episode. Because New World has changed quite a bit, and it looks to change even more in the future. 40. First, that was a teaser of what we're going to talk about today.
Great job, man. You're rolling right into that. Yeah,
I knew it. I see. I'm back on track already.
Perfect.
It took about 5 seconds. 40. How are we doing today?
I'm great, man. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good. Just good. I'm just great. Overall good. Overall good. You know.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. All right, Bordy. So let's just hop right in here, dude. With no further.
How are you doing? I mean, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, I'm doing great. Been working on Dark and Darker guides. You know, it's a fun game. I enjoy that game. So. Yeah, everything's going great for me.
Perfect.
New World, on the other hand, Bordy, you know, I think if some people might differ in their opinion on how the game's doing. We're going to talk about the state of the game today. Just a big recap episode. State of the game, and then what we expect in the June update or the June announcement. So it will be a fun episode. We'll have a lot of discussion. We're not going to talk about territory control at all, I'm sure, or any of the things that make you angry. We're going to try to stay away from those things. We're going to talk about New World as a whole without the things that make you angry, which might make the podcast short.
Okay.
But let's start here. State of the game. Bordy, this obviously is we'll just get right to the bullet points. This is the lowest the population of New World has ever been. Obviously, a lot of people were a little bit disappointed. The announcement was supposed to be in May. Is that correct? And then it got delayed to June. So that probably adds to the air in the room as to like the hype around the game. But this is on the back end of an expansion. That arguably didn't add a lot of like in-game content or a lot of tail to the game. Did add mounts, artifacts, but we we spoke about this on whenever our last podcast was. It didn't really add a lot of like value to in-game or like experienced or veteran players, which I think most players now are. Especially because obviously the peaks that the game hits like for expansions or whatever. So we're down to like last time I checked, we're hovering around like the average like 7,000 concurrent players with troughs of like 5K or lower. So let's talk about that right now. What do you think about the concurrent player base situation? I know this isn't the overall or like the end all be all determination of a game's success, but what do you think about the situation of the current player base in New World?
Well, I mean, it's not great. You know what I mean? It's not great. Nobody wants to see this happen, especially if you're a New World enjoyer. And I think a lot of people still are. I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast and consume New World content, maybe not necessarily are playing the game. They're just waiting for things to roll back around and hope the game gets better. So it's definitely not ideal, but it was predictable. I mean, I think we all seen this coming whenever we heard the announcement of everything that was coming with season 5. It was like, well, nobody's gonna stick around for that, really. Like they're adding things for newer players, the revamped storyline, which I do want to talk about that here in just a minute, because I think it is one of the hidden gems and one of the bright spots of the game that no one's talking about. In a world full of dread and dreary for New World, there is one shining thing, which I think is the story. But nobody's talking about it because no current players are going back and redoing the story, and they haven't really done a lot to bring back new players. So I think if the game, and we'll talk about this later too, if the game does have a resurgence of players because it's going to different platforms or whatever, then that should bode well for them. But overall, I think we expected this to happen. I think we expected the dip in players to happen, and I don't think the dip in players is over. I think it's going to continue to dip because I don't think we're getting anything for a good while. So it seems. We'll get an announcement soon, but beyond that, I think it's going to continue to dip. So I think we'll see even lower records of players, and hopefully the announcement has some sort of a hype build up, and we see that number start to go up again. But it's not in a great state right now, man. It's really not. And I think they suffer from the same thing they've suffered from for a very long time, which is there's just no player retention. People come back to play through the new stuff, and when there's not new stuff to come back to, nobody's going to come back. And then there's nothing to retain those players because in-game is bad, which I think we'll talk about a little bit later on as well. But yeah, that's my take on it, man. I think it's going to continue to go down. Player numbers are going to continue to dwindle until we hear something in June. And then hopefully at that point, it'll be really good news. And then we'll see some player numbers go up.
Yeah, and you make a good point. See, a lot of people assume or speculate that June will just be an announcement. It won't be like a, stuff is coming out now. That's a good point, because I do think we are looking at probably the same time frame as we do every year, which is maybe like beginning of Q4, like October-ish, before we actually get whatever they announce to happen. Wouldn't you think at that point? So we're looking at like a 4-month situation where, I mean, yeah, maybe we see season 6 and maybe another like trial, or maybe they redo the worm or something like that for that season. But I don't think we're going to get the actual bolus of content or whatever this announcement is, which we're going to talk about later. We're not going to get that in June. That's just going to be a video or an announcement of some sort. So
yeah, I mean, for everybody that doesn't know, they are announcing this at the Summer Games Fest, which I think is on June the 7th, but I think it's June 7th, 8th, and 9th is when Summer Games Fest happens. So I don't know what day they're making their announcement on, but I don't know if it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I think that's when the Summer Games Fest is, right on a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know it's on the 7th. I know that's when it starts, but that's whenever they're making the announcement. So I think you're right. I don't expect them to drop the content on that day or in June. I don't think it's going to be anything other than the announcement of what is coming in, like the expansion time, which they're not doing an expansion. They said they also said they're apparently not adding a new OPR map, which has been confirmed. So that's not happening, which is unfortunate. So nobody really knows what we're getting. There's just a lot of speculation, and we'll speculate towards the end of the podcast, I think. But let me ask you this, man. Has there been any highlight for you for season 5? I know you've kind of ventured away from New World a little bit, like a lot of other people, just because there hasn't been a lot. Like we got for season 5, we just got Winter Runeforge, we got revamped story, and a few new artifacts. That was really it. So what has there been anything for you that has kept you playing or made you want to play the game for season 5?
I mean, the trial is good. I don't like, there's not a lot of repeatability in there because the rewards are terrible. I feel like once you get the artifact, like there's not, you know what I mean? There's no reason to really do it a lot. But I think that the design of the trials is what I'm looking for, like from like TV in-game content. The problem is like the systems in place in the game don't really support that sort of situation, right? Like there's just random loot that doesn't really, like, I can get random loot whatever I do in the game. There isn't like a raid set to look for, like you know what I mean? There's just the artifact. So yeah, I thought the trial was fun to play. I had a good time doing that. And I mean, the artifact system seems to still carry the game for the most part, like getting a new artifact, trying out new builds with it. Like that was, to me, the highlight of the expansion as well, is just artifacts. So that, obviously going and getting new artifacts or farming new artifacts is fun. Those are the two things I would note, like from season 5, that I think are good. Obviously the lack of story disappointed a lot of people. I'm one of those people that don't care either way, if there's more story or not. You said the story was good. I haven't played the story since I've leveled up for our Return to Eternum, I think, probably, and I didn't even pay attention then. So
yeah,
I like, so yeah, to me, like, season 5 is fine, like resetting the season pass, the trial, like, sure, obviously those happening once a quarter and then the content you being done with it in a week is not ideal.
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. What do you think about
So,
them locking like a lot of the artifacts, like the Great Axe, for example? You have to go run the Worm trial to unlock the last perk on the Great Axe. So what do you think about that? They initially were going to name this season of trials or something like that. That's what was in the game files. And then they changed it for whatever reason. So I think that them making you go run these trials, all the older content to get some of the artifacts and then to upgrade them. Like you have to go run like Siren's Arena and all the old PvE arenas to get some of the artifacts, and then to upgrade them you have to do some things like the Worm. What do you think about that tactic for the artifacts themselves?
I mean, it's tough, right? Like I think that sort of thing is fine. Obviously forcing people to do the arenas and like older raids, or like, I mean, which is sad to say because that hasn't even been out a year at this point, right? With the Worm.
Yeah.
But it's like they never brought any of that stuff forward to like current content. And like that to me, and I'm not a programmer, I probably said that 1,000 times on the podcast, but I don't understand why you wouldn't do that, especially like if you haven't set like you increase the gear cap, you brought forward mutations, but like the arenas and the raid, if you're going to force people to do those things, like why didn't you bring the loot forward and everything like that? So to me, like you're wasted. Like I feel like you're upgrading the Great Axe, so that's kind of cool. But like I mean, like I still don't understand them releasing a trial, the first ever 20-man trial in the game, and then just like immediately making it irrelevant. To me, that's not very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, they did speak on that a little bit in their last Fortune tournament in the Q&A, and they said that they are going to go back and revisit all the old trials, like the PvE trials and the Sandworm, and make them relevant with relevant rewards. But it's just odd that didn't happen initially, and I would agree. And so for me, like locking the Great Axe behind the Sandworm, it sucks because nobody wants to run the Sandworm because there is no other rewards in there other than upgrading your Great Axe. And it's like they're forcing you to do that content to upgrade that one thing, and it doesn't feel really good. It's like, oh well, we have this content in here, you got to go do it now to upgrade this one item, and you have to use the Great Axe to kill it with to get the item or to upgrade your Great Axe. It's like, I don't know, man. I didn't really like that. It's like, well, if the content's irrelevant, then make it relevant in another way, and don't force people to go run dead content just because it's in the game and you want them to run it. Like I didn't think that was great. I haven't upgraded the Great Axe because of that. I have zero desire to run the Sandworm. I ran it about 1,000,000 times whenever it first came out. And I just don't want to go run it. There's just no reason. So, I don't know. And the artifact is like, I don't know. I'm not interested in it either. So, man, I don't know, bro. It was really weird. That was a really weird situation. And what do you think about all the bugs that were introduced with season 5? Like there was a visual bug that happened that they addressed, and then a bunch of other stuff after they've harped on quality, and then they come back, and then season 5 just wasn't up to their standard for sure. And I think you can see it all over the face, man. They're disappointed when they talk about it. They really are. And I don't think Scott is very happy with the lack of quality that they've put out. But it seems to be an ongoing pattern, man. Do you think that they're going to be able to fix that if, like moving on and trying to get past all this nonsense? Do you think that New World has a shot at revitalization after, and doing better moving forward? Because they did say in the last version of Term 2, they're working on fixing a lot of bugs. They want bugs to be squashed. They have a lot of effort going towards that area. So I don't know, man. They keep saying those things, and then this keeps happening, and it's just not a good look in my opinion. So,
Well, yeah, this is like a long, I think, contextual answer. But short form is like, this looks terrible. You know what I mean? Like this is not the first time that they've done this either. You delay a piece of content for like weeks on the premise of perfection, or at least like making sure that you work out all the bugs in like the release of the content, and then the content releases, and then there's like game breaking bugs. This has happened before, multiple times in the history of New World. And it doesn't also look good because and I think it was like J Oddity or something who someone made a video on this, and I've seen it to be true as well. People that play the PTR and report bugs, sometimes those bugs don't get fixed. So it's like I quit testing the PTR, but like number one, like you're lucky that people go in there and test the game for free for you at all. And then for them to send in bug reports and then you not fix the bug reports, it looks horrible. So then like there's just all these compiling factors with these releases and why people don't necessarily trust the dev team. And I'm on the page where I think that this team over communicates to the community so much that like these weekly videos that they put out, they actually hurt their situation and they don't help the like appearance or like the atmosphere of the community. They actually hurt it because then every week they're getting on there and kind of joking around or like maybe sometimes taking jabs at the community or, for like their questions. But at the end of the day, like it's like, number one, they don't owe anybody that communication. Like just put out like a patch note or whatever, just like every other dev team does. Like at this point, that would be probably better, you know? And like at the end of the day, like they're in the position with the game right now that like none of these small updates matter anyways. Like season 5, they could have put it out on time and had game breaking bugs, and it would have been better, in my opinion, than to release it a month late and then also have the game breaking bugs in it. So it's like I'm of the opinion that the New World team should really be turtling right now and just working on something that's going to actually change the in-game systems and the way the game functions. Because, like you said, at the storyline is if the storyline is good and we're looking at potentially down the barrel of a console release, let's just fix in-game and don't worry about these weekly videos. Don't worry about these seasonal updates that really don't bring people back anyways because they're always broken. Let's just like, you know, turtle up, go silent, focus on the game. Like nothing that and you may share a different opinion, but nothing they can do right now is going to fix that image, in my opinion. It's happened so many times already that I think people already expect that the game doesn't work well.
No, I agree, man. Like, here's the thing: they said that they were going to back off of the Forge of Eternals because of the negative connotation that it's causing the community.
That for sure.
So, and they're not wrong by doing that. I mean, it is a bad look whenever they go on there and they're joking around, and the community sentiment right now is like, man, this is not good. You know, if everything's going great and everything's popping off and the game's going well, then come on there and joke around and have a good time. The community would eat that up. I think they would love it.
But even then, like, not weekly. That's
No, I don't think weekly. I think weekly is a little bit much. They post a lot of content on that YouTube channel, and that's fine, I think. But it's interesting that you bring that up because there's a post floating around on Reddit right now. Something they did a developer conference or developer oh man, I forget what it's called. EDC, what is it? EDC or something? I don't know. I'm probably butchering it, but there's some kind of developer conference that they go to, and the New World team specifically spoke on community engagement. And one of their things was like they wanted a video first approach, and so they feel like there's just a whole lot of points made in that video. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I kind of read through the post about it, and it was very interesting. If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend you go check it out because their approach to community and like the way they shape the game, some of their thoughts align with what they're doing, and some of them really don't. So it was just a very interesting conference and an interesting like presentation they gave at that conference. So anyway, I don't want to go too deep into that, but it was pretty interesting. It's along those lines of like why they do the videos and why they think they're valuable and how they handle changes to the game based on community feedback and all that stuff. Pretty interesting. But anyway.
And it would be like that the concept is valuable. Like, for instance, the Diablo team at the beginning of each season gets on, talks about things. It's good. It's transparent. You get in front of the community and answer live questions. It helps with the image and everything like that. But what the New World team is doing is not that. They're putting out a video, rain, shine, sleet, hail. Doesn't matter about what the state of the game is or the sentiment of the community. And it's just kind of tone deaf the way that they present like the information, or like that, always they like kind of clickbait a question that they get answered from the community at the beginning of the video, and it like shows their faces and they're like, like it's like a Keck W face. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't like, to me, like with the state of the game, and I obviously we've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the people on the team. And I truly believe that like they don't like the intentions are good with the videos, but like the overall product, what's being put out or like what's actually happening with the videos is not good. So I just think like stepping away from how frequently they're doing them is a great idea. And then also like let's buckle down, get the game right, because I think New World still has a lot of potential. I think it has like a very good skeleton, but it's the problem though now is everybody's patience is being tested because I've been playing the same mutations, since the beginning of the game, or the same dungeons. We've been playing the same OPR map since the beginning of the game, and it's 2 years now, 40. So 2+ years of this same thing. So
yeah, I think they're starting to lose a little bit of player trust, and a little bit of a hopium and copium is starting to fade away. And that's why we see it's why we see a large dip in the player numbers too. It's like a lot of times people have been hanging on to New World for a long time because they see the potential and they're like, well, if New World will just change these few things, it's gonna be really, really good. I want to stick around to see what happens. And that the number of us that are sticking around to see what happens and are hanging on to that is dwindling quickly. And it's sad to see. They're definitely losing the trust and the faith of players, and it sucks. It sucks to watch, but I think they can gain it back. But I think a lot hinges on this June announcement, in all honesty.
I mean, 100%. And it's interesting because now I think there's a sentiment going around that this is basically the beta for Lord of the Rings. And so, this kind of all like a lot of these things also play into like the things that have happened the past 2 years also play into that fear, right? Like they're adding things to the game that don't really help the game, but they would help like a future game. You know what I mean? And that is always, I think, like another reason why maybe people think that New World is the trajectory is just what we expect right now, which is basically like bug testing and all this other stuff. So it's one of those things, I think, Bordy, the current state of the game is just that, and like you said before, and they're in danger of this too, is now you have like a lot of friction with the player base and a lot of like disagreement with the direction of the game or what have you. And we covered a game before this called Crowfall, and they had the same, like they suffered from the same issues, which eventually led to like the game being canceled or being done. It's just like, the player base who's left playing the game, the voices, like the squeaky wheel that's making all the noise. Like they do have to be a little bit careful with the path that they tread in the future, right? Like if they listen to the wrong, hopefully they're, focusing on making the game better within the team and not necessarily taking all the comments or the suggestions from the community, because I've heard some dumb ones from the community on what's going to fix the game. So I think they have to be careful. I think just go tried and true, look at the history of MMOs. I think really fixing the end game is the answer for New World. Just making sure that the game has a good quality game loops at the end that keep people wanting to log in at least like once a week to do a raid cooldown or like maybe log in for OPR maps or maybe an improved war system or something like that. That to me, like it's simple. It's hard to execute, but it's simple what New World needs, and it's just the end game of the game needs fixed. And I've just heard so many ridiculous comments from a lot of people in the community about what would fix the game that I just hope that they don't trip over those suggestions.
Yeah,
like other games in the past have.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's kind of you're right. That's kind of the fate that Crowfall went down. They listened to they really, at the end of the day, they listened to the wrong part of the community, and they themselves internally did not have a true vision for what they wanted that game to be and what they wanted that game to become. And so what ultimately ended up happening to that game is it became this mashed together hodgepodge of a mess of like trying to fit all these pieces together, and there was no true vision. And so the game just became this pile of crazy that just didn't work. when initially their initial vision for the game looked really fun and looked really cool, and then they did not stick to that initial vision. They veered off that path so hard, and they listened to the small players that were there instead of trying to make a game to bring in new players and take a risk on something. They just listened to the wrong people, and I feel like New World may be suffering from that same situation, which isn't very good because as we know from their last dev video, they said 2% of the people get to participate in wars. Well, man, if that's not a red flag, Red, I don't know, man. You know, I don't want to harp on it a whole lot in this podcast. Everybody knows how I feel about the situation, but it's like, if that's not a red flag, man, like, bro, you know, your entire end game, that's what it is. It's territory control. Whether people want to admit it or say it or not, the end game of New World is supposed to be the end game loop. And I'm not talking about wars specifically. I'm talking about this whole territory control system itself is the end game. That's why you go get gear. That's why you do all these things. You are fighting to own territory for your faction. Well, really your company, because factions mean 0 in New World. So when 2% of your players are participating in that loop, bro, there's a massive problem that has to be addressed, has to be fixed. And it scares me to death, Red, whenever I hear Scott address this and say, well, practice wars. We want practice wars. No, dude. Bro, I'm telling you right now, that is probably
one of the dumb ideas I was talking about.
A lot of people are saying that's what the game needs to get. That is probably, I agree with you. It's probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because practice wars are not going to fix anything in the game. It's going to be it'd be another queued up mode that doesn't fix it. And Scott was like buying into this, and it's like, bro, you listen, putting practice wars in New World isn't going to fix anything. All it's going to do is add a 50v50 mode that splits people off from playing OPR and arenas. And they say the problem for wars is that people can't get enough practice to get into wars. That's not the problem, man.
You can't get people to queue up for a 5-person dungeon that's cross server. Why? How are you going to get 50-50?
I don't know, man. Practice wars aren't going to fix anything. They're not.
No, here's the deal with the whole concept. Why are we practicing something like this? Why are we taking it so seriously to where it's like, if the game is based around wars, then why can't, there's systematic problems in place why other players can't get in and practice, like actually do a war. And it's a system problem. I don't think like the actual wars are the problem. Like you were hinting at before, it's a system in place that the wars occur in. And it's the territory control system in which, like, X percent, it's got to be like 90% of the gold or the income of the game comes from territory ownership. I mean, there is no limit. If we are sitting here 2+ years into the game, there is no limit to how many territories a company can own. It's ridiculous. And I heard the conversation on the video, the last dev video, about like, oh, we have debates internally. Some people feel like we should limit players, and some people don't. The idea that you're not protecting a large percent of your player base from the like sweaty 1% is why the game will eventually fail. New World is not it's not League of Legends. New World is not Overwatch. And even so, those games, those competitive PvP games, have systems in place, such as skill-based matchmaking and rankings, that protect your massive amount of player base, your whatever, bronze, silver, gold, platinum players, from that group of people, so that everybody can experience the game and play the game at a high level. It would be so stupid for League of Legends to sit there, well, if you're in Diamond, you get to play the game, but the rest of the game is practice gaming. You're not actually ranking up. You're just practicing so you can play in the Diamond League. That'd be the dumbest game design decision of all time. It's like, practice wars aren't going to fix anything. You should fix the system to where more and more players get to experience an actual war on a regular basis. And you have to do that through whatever means necessary. Account locking, IP locking, like I don't care what they do, but right now, and it's obvious, and it's definitely like most people know it's happening. There is like maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 like elite companies in New World that are controlling all the territories on every server. There some of them, not all of them, are RMTing the gold for real money.
Not all of them, dude. I think a lot of people that wore RMT because they come back for the update, they RMT to get their gear, and then they just play the game, right? Which, listen,
sure,
I'm not blaming them. Okay, the game is
not
flawed.
Their fault at all. And I want to be clear about that.
Yeah,
the diamond players shouldn't suffer because there's other people in the game that are worse than them. But there should be systems in place inside of the game that allow the diamond players to go against diamond players, like War for Everfall or Brimstone, those elite territories. Those people should 100% be in control of owning like the capitals of New World. But the problem is they own every other territory too, because no one is good enough to beat them. Even their B team or their C team, they can't win against. And it's because of the nature of the game, like the systems within the game.
Yeah.
It's
this is an unpopular opinion probably, but I don't care at this point, man, because we see the path is clear for New World. They continue to bleed players because there is no end game. 2% of your players play in the end game, which is, I mean, that's the in game loop, bro. Like 2% of the players are playing in the in game loop.
The in New World is the territory control.
Yes, 100%. So whenever 2% of the people are playing in it, you have this successful mode come out called influence races, which have quickly died off because people realize now that it's controlled by the same people. And influence races are not what everybody thought they were going to be.
Well,
they're essentially you're still just running faction missions to deck, and it sucks. Like influence races could have been this amazing open world PvP. They were phenomenal for the first like 3 weeks, and then now they suck. It's like, dude, it all revolves around the one system, territory control. And whenever I hear Scott say the words, "Oh, we need to add a practice war," it just makes me facepalm and realize, like, dude, we're in trouble, man. Like, we're in trouble. You can't have an MMO that does this and you don't allow your players to play the end game, or else it's going to die. There's ways to do this so that your elite players are still elite and they feel appreciated. There's still a lot of PvP, and then but at the same time, everybody else gets an opportunity to at least enjoy the end game, or at least feel like they can work towards the end game to get better and have an opportunity to play in it. Like this, the whole thing is scuffed, and adding practice wars to the game is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I hate it when people say that. I just don't think I don't think it would fix a thing at all.
He got that idea from the community, though.
Which is what I mean. Like, I think that's listening to the wrong people, and I'm not saying I'm the right person to listen to. I don't have all the answers. But I've been saying this from day one, and it is the most obviously glaring problem that I've ever seen in an MMO. Your end game sucks. It doesn't work, and you want to add practice. You cannot do that, man. You need to rework territory control from the ground up if you want to have a chance for New World to be successful, or make it such a minimal part of the game that there's another in-game loop for everybody else to participate in, and leave the 2% over there. Like, you cannot have this and have a successful MMO. You can't. People are going to move on, which is exactly why we continue to see this steady decline in players. I don't understand why it's so hard to understand this. It baffles me, Red. I don't get it.
The only way as an MMO for you to maintain a concurrent player base is for there to be game loops that you can feel rewarded in on a regular basis. And to me, like, it's like, again, there's no reason why, whatever, like 80% of the territories or 75% of the territories need to be controlled by like a large group or like a small group of people in the player base. Why have a practice war when you can set up a system in place that will allow up and coming companies or newer companies to actually war for like Restless Shores or Cutlass Keys? These territories that maybe bring in like 1% of taxes or 2% of taxes. Like, why wouldn't we foster a system that not only allows companies to compete, like smaller or lesser companies to compete for those, but have the wars happen more frequently so that even the larger companies that are more competitive get to war on a regular basis? Those players, they only care about owning multiple territories, most other than RMT, are the ones that they just want to war every night. That's the only reason they're playing the game, is so that they can get into wars.
Yeah, they want to PvP.
I don't blame them.
So add more PvP to the game and
make the territories
make it ongoing.
more frequently.
You engage those players that are warloggers, change them from warloggers to actually getting on the game and playing, because there's a reason to get on the game and play all the time. Right now, that's the only reason they have to get on the game and play, is because they want to go on there and war. We'll make there be large scale PvP and other methods. Bro,
or
in all honesty,
wars, like just they need to, something, you know?
They need to make it faction based or remove factions. Factions play no part in the game. I've said this for years as well. It's like, bro, just make it faction based like other games, or remove the factions. Factions are dumb in New World. Like, nobody feels attached to them. Nobody has any bearing. You're not fighting for anything if you're Syndicate, Covenant, or Marauders. Like, what are we doing here? You're either in a company or you're not. Like,
it's almost it hurts the system, because then there are territories that you can't war for because your faction owns it, which is even further limits the amount of people that can play. And again, don't listen to us. Don't listen to the community. Look at the history or the development of the genre, and look at what the other successful MMOs have done to have an end game that works, that brings people in. To this day, ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, Cyrodiil has a player base. They never update that system. They never do anything to help the PvP players. But Cyrodiil itself, along with like their battle or their arenas or their battlegrounds, they hold players, and players are interested in that system. And the main reason Cyrodiil is so successful, even like lacking balance or like adjustments, is because you can hop in and play, and you can join your army or your faction and make a difference in flipping castles in the map. So even like lesser players that want to learn PvP can just hop in, X up in global, get in and start warring for, like, you know, outposts and castle siege and stuff like that.
Yeah, like accessibility.
That's one of the main factors in why New World's end game doesn't work out, is because it's not accessible to the player base. 2%, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Actually,
we know this to be. I mean, from our history of covering MMOs, we know this to be true. I mean, the PvE versus PvP communities in the MMO space is extremely one-sided. Some would say like 90-10. And the players that are interested in competitive PvP.
Well, apparently it's like 80-20 in New World, because
apparently in New World it's 98.
Well, no, I mean, even in Outpost Rush, this surprised me. Like, they said that 20% of their players participate in Outpost Rush. I found that crazy, because it's like, dude, how do only 20% people? Yeah, I know. And so how do only 20% of the people play in Outpost Rush? I don't know. I think New World is uniquely positioned to have a really fun PvP game. I really do. The game has a lot to offer in that area. They just got to do it right. They got to rework territory control and move on. I don't know, but I do agree. PvE versus PvP, that argument, I agree. It's like most players play MMOs to PvE, but New World could capture an audience for PvP if they would just fix it. But I don't know, man. Mean, hearing Scott talk about practice wars really did. I was hopeful. Then I heard that and I was like, bro, oh my gosh, we're not. This is not happening. Yeah. Like, is he really actually saying that's a solution to the problem? Like, if he really thinks that's a solution to the problem, Red, we are in big trouble, I think. I don't. That's a terrible solution. It's not a solution at all. But anyway.
Oh yeah, and the problem isn't like that the end game is based around PvP. Like, I think genuinely there's enough. A good MMO should have both PvE and PvP, because PvP is one of those end game loops that can be repeatable easily. You know what I mean? Look how many people still play OPR, the same map that hasn't been touched for 2 years. Like, PvP is a 100% like valuable end game for an MMO. But when you're already filtering your community with your end game for like only people that enjoy PvP, and then because we've already established that territory control is like the end game of New World, and then you only let 2% of that small population actually compete in it, we have our problem. That's why 5,000 concurrent player base.
Well, what's crazy is we've been talking about this same exact problem almost every podcast for the past how long? It feels
stupid.
And it feels dumb, but it's the same. I know, but it's the same problem, man. And I don't understand why it's never. It's just anyway, whatever. It's undebatable at this point. I you know what I mean?
It's
Yeah.
undebatable.
Well, it's objectively true that it's not good for the game. Like there is no, when 2% of the people are playing it, it's
I'll
like,
be
bro.
clear because I don't want to like someone take us out of context. The system of territory control, especially in its current design, being the end game of New World, is why New World is currently unsuccessful
Agreed.
at maintaining a player base. And
Agreed.
some of the solutions are genuinely a matter of execution. Like it requires minimal thought, and that is finding ways to bring more people into the territory control system and redefining like the boundaries of it. Why do we care so much, like to where like a territory only comes up once every 72 hours? And like, why don't we care that like the war can just happen like multiple times a day even and have the territory flip? Like, I don't get that at all. Like,
Well, there could be a lot of different solutions they could implement.
there's
That'd be a
ton
lot of
them.
fun.
That's what I'm saying.
And
like,
territory control in New World could be a blast and be something that is a draw to the game, but it's so poorly designed right now that it's just killing the game versus having the other effect. But anyway, I feel like we harp on that all the time. Let's shift gears here. I want to talk about something really positive in the game. Okay, this is something that no one is talking about. No one. And I understand why no one's talking about it, because right now the player base in New World is not new players. It's all players that have been playing the game for a really long time. But Red, I will tell you, man, I know you said earlier you haven't played through the story in a long time, but dude, I have gone back and done a complete playthrough of the New World story. I've done all of the story. I've done all of Elysian Wilds. I'm going back and doing Brimstone Sands right now. And dude, I'm not exaggerating or even the story is incredible, man. Like, it's actually really good. The voice acting is top notch. Although there's some holes there a little bit with some of the music and some of the voice acting. Sometimes it gets a little squirrely with some parts, but overall, I would say 98% of it is really well done. The cutscenes now are like stellar. Like, they're super good. The story makes a lot of sense whenever you're going through it. You learn where the corruption came from. You learn exactly where the Angry Earth came from. You learn a little bit about the ancients. It is a very intriguing, very fun story to play through. And I think if this game does generate more players moving forward, people are going to have a great time playing through the story. But nobody's going back and playing through it now from the current player base. That's why no one's talking about it. But it is very obvious and very clear. There's no way they didn't spend a whole lot of money going back and redoing this. There's no way that the budget wasn't massive for that, because the amount of voice acting, the amount of cutscenes that are in there now, the amount of art that went into it, the amount of like music, like there's custom music for each different like soul trial and stuff. Like, the budget had to have been very large. They put a lot of effort and time into revamping it. If that would have been there since day one, I think that a lot of people would have had a lot different experience leveling up, because a lot of people left before they hit max level. But now I think people will go through it and hit max level no problem, because the story is that good. Dude, I'm not kidding. It is really good. The soul trials are all really fun. Now, granted, I'd like for some of them to be a little bit harder, but I can understand why they didn't make them harder. You know, I think some people would complain if they were too hard. But man, it's good. I like, anybody listening, I recommend, just if you're bored, go back and play through the story. Just start a new character. Go back and play. It's so good, man. It really, really is. I gotta give them props where props is due. It's really well done. Probably one of the best MMO stories I've ever played through. It is really, really good. It's unfortunate that not a lot of the current players are talking about it or playing through it, but I hope that this bodes well for the future. And it shows that they can do something right. Like it's genuinely good, man.
Well, I don't. I didn't doubt that they could do something right. Like, again,
well, I didn't mean it like that. That probably came out really wrong. I just mean, like, with all the negativity surrounding the game right now, like, this is something they got right, I think.
Yeah, the skeleton of the game, I still stand by the fact that the game has a ton of potential. The combat and like the systems they have in place, the artifact system, the feel, the sound of the game, it's still, I think, elite in the MMO space. And I know we harp on like one solution or one problem a lot, but and to your point about the story, I think that will matter if they do like a console release or like another fresh start situation, which I don't necessarily agree with the fresh start stuff unless there's a console release. Like I don't think you fresh start on PC fixes anything. But if they have, if what we think is going to happen with the June announcement includes a console launch, I think that could be big for New World for sure. Having a good story and a viable like questing experience, because and this plays into the whole New World's a beta type conversation. But I mean, they've been developing, since for 2 years now, they've been working on redoing the story of the game. And I mean, that does, to your point, require a lot of dev power, I'm sure. So, like, hopefully the game's finished.
It is. There's no question. Later. There's no question that the story is completely done now. The lore pages make sense whenever you're going through there. They're actually interesting to read. They tie into the story. They give you flavor text like they should have all along. You know how before reading through the lore was like, you had to dig into the lore pages to read the lore or to know the lore. And then you also, a lot of those lore pages, like, it made no sense. They were just random. They were like telling a story of, they were dumb. They didn't make a lot of sense. Well, now they do, and they're very interesting to read, but they add flavor text to the already existing story. So you get the meat, you understand what's going on with the story. You get, that sounded really bad, man. Let's not. Okay. You get the main part of the story and the interesting stuff. You know what I mean? And then, jeez Louise, I gotta think before I speak sometimes, bro. And then you read through the lore pages to get additional lore if you're interested in it. It's just really good. I can't say it enough. It's been a very fun experience to go back and play through it. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. But somebody in chat said that and they have a point here, that if the story is like this at the beginning of the game would probably still be in a very similar position now. Which I agree, because we just talked about the problems of the in-game.
That's 100% true.
So even if the game does go to console, I think the retainage will be better for longer, just because people will play through the story and reach max level and enjoy it. But then once they reach a certain point, I do agree that they'll probably fade out, because the end game is still a problem. But I just wanted to give credit where credit's due. Because it is, man, it's legitimately good. I found myself just immersed in there and really wanting to know more and learn more about what was going on. There was kind of some shocking moments in there that you didn't know that was pretty cool. It was just fun. It's genuinely a fun time. So I feel like that is kind of a little bit of glimmer of hope, because if they can get that going, and then now I feel like that part's done, right? They don't have to spend a ton of dev power going back to revamp that or redo it. They can just now add stuff moving forward. And now I'm invested in the story. So whenever they add new stuff going forward, you better believe I want to go in there and play through it and actually listen to the story now and understand what's going on. But if they can now have that done, maybe now they'll move on to other parts of the game and get those done. And so slowly over time, maybe we'll actually see a fully fleshed out MMO. But I worry that it's like almost too little too late, because it's just been so long, but it did give me a little bit of hope playing through it. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's not, I don't think it's too little too late, because I think there's a vast market to capture on the console. We've said from the beginning of the game that the game plays like it would play well on a console game, or like on a console. So I think, genuinely, this could be like just lead to the success of a launch on console if the story's being good. It always does fall back to like, well, it's an MMO, so is the in-game good? But like, having a good story and a good quest line, definitely, if the in-game becomes good at some point, will add to the quality of the overall game. So, I mean, obviously, I see why they wanted to fix it. Like, they transitioned from a survival game to a MMO, like a theme park MMO. So, like, there was a lot of things probably left to be desired from the creative team in that space, and hopefully they feel relieved and that it's fixed, because it's time to move on from the story.
Yeah, and just add new story moving forward. Now, they should be proud of their work, dude. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. I think I just hope that it's finished. You know what I mean?
There's no doubt it's finished. There's no doubt the story's finished. Yeah, like if you play through it, there's no doubt that they wrapped it up. It's all tidied up in a nice little bow, and now just they can continue to add on it moving forward, which obviously isn't going to require nearly as much as going back and revamping. Like, they revamped everything, dude. It's completely different.
Yeah. Well, good. Good, Bordy.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that's the bright spot in all of this.
For now.
Yeah, that's the thing in season 5 that's not getting, it's getting vastly overlooked, and there was a lot of dev power and a lot of stuff that went into that. Now, whether or not the current player base feels that way, but it makes me think like there's a bigger plan behind the scenes for June, and we can talk about that now if you want to. Like, what do we think's coming?
Let's transition over to that.
Okay.
Let's transition over that. June. This is another thing, Bordy, that's gotten delayed for a month.
Yeah.
So it's like the expectations are high. You know what I mean?
The expectations are really high, which is the. Yeah.
Well, it's a lot of hopium and a lot of copium.
Yeah.
They've mixed the gas and we're all huffing it. What is the what do you think the main bullet point, like a number one of the June update is, and then what do you think or what do you want it to be? Because I don't want to use like what should it be. Like what do you think it is, and what do you? Oh, let's do this. What do you think what do you want it to be, and then what do you think it is?
I wanted it to be a rework of territory control in endgame. Okay. It's what I wanted it to be. And I had a little bit of hope that was going to be the case with some of the hints they had been dropping. But after the last dev video, I think that's all shot out the window. I don't think they're touching that system at all. I think that is just completely shot. So what I want it to be and what I truly want to be fixed, because I think that is the biggest problem of the game. Servers, territory control, those are two biggest problems in my opinion. Small servers, they need a mega server, and then anyway, that is not getting fixed. I have zero hope that's happening now. So outside of that, what I'd like to see is just, I guess, more content, more things to do that we haven't seen yet, which now it's like, I don't really even know what that would be. What I think it's going to be is I think they're going to announce a console release. I think all signs point in that direction. That's not confirmed by any stretch, but I think all signs point in that direction for sure. So I think that's going to be like the big announcement, because I'm sure that took a massive amount of work to make that happen. Controller ports in the game and all that jazz. And so I think a console port and a console release will be the big reveal that's happening in June. And then like, as far as actual content goes for us that are still playing the game, something that's not going to draw in a new crowd or new players, swimming. I mean, I think we're getting swimming, which no. Like, here's the thing, man. I think that's confirmed. Like they hinted at it so much in one of the dev videos. Like it's coming into the game, but I don't know if there's anything else coming with swimming though. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man. I think swimming is likely to come into the game. I hope we get some sort of content with swimming. That would be sick if we did. And then on the PvP side of things, all signs still point to that PvP island, which is like a free-for-all thing, which in all honesty, could be a lot of fun. You better believe I'm going to be over there playing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be over there doing it. Listen, just to be clear, I want more PvP. Like, I love the PvP in New World. It's so fun. It's one of my favorite things to do. But the way they currently do it is just not good. So I think the PvP island is probably a likely thing to happen. I think it'll be like a free-for-all island. It's just going to be another mode that you go run into. It could be fun. Could give us something to do. Is it going to save New World? No, man, it's not. I mean, it's not. Like, it's just not. So I don't know, man. Those are the things that I think may come in. That's all I can think of, because they already said no new OPR map. I'm pretty sure we're not getting a new weapon. Maybe they'll throw a new weapon in there that nobody knows. They said they're not working on daggers for sure, but I don't know if they've ever confirmed that we're not getting a new weapon at all. So maybe we'll get a new weapon. I don't really expect it. I expect console release, swimming, and something new for PvP. And maybe we'll get like a raid, maybe. But I honestly don't expect that either, because they said they haven't gone back and done the sandworm stuff. And they said that's not coming until later this year. So it's like, I don't know, man. My hype level has been super high, and then after that last Forge in Eternum, it just went way down, because some of the things I was hoping was coming to the game got crushed, and it's very clear that's not happening. And so now it's like, I don't know what's coming to the game. I don't know what. I have no idea, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? The fact that you said that the only thing new players are going to get is swimming, it made me, for a split second, I thought like that could be true.
I think there's more. I think they're adding a lot. I think they're going to add a lot. I don't think they're going to hype up this June announcement and then not deliver. Like, bro, they've been hyping this June announcement up for literally months now. I mean, months upon months upon months. There's been nothing else coming to New World to speak of other than the new story, which again, incredible. Winter Runeforge, like all this stuff, like nothing of real big substance for current players has come in. So there has to be something big. But yes, they did. Somebody in chat said they said no expansion. There is no expansion coming in. They said that, but it's
well, Brimstone wasn't considered an expansion, so that doesn't really limitate. To me, like
doesn't limit content.
And Brimstone and the expansion were a similar size and increase of content. So
yeah, I mean, I think just because there's not like a paid expansion coming in, I don't think that means that we're not getting a lot of content. I think it could potentially mean that, you know, they want people to buy the base game, and they're going to add upon that. You know, I don't know. I'm hoping, man. I'm still holding on to hope. I'm still one of those people because I still really love New World. I still think there could be an amazing future there, but I'm not gonna lie. I am also, my hope and copium is fading a little bit, especially after hearing talk of the practice wars and all that stuff. It's like, man, I don't know if we're going in the right direction here. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect in June. What do you think's happening? What is your predictions? What are we getting here, Red? What are we getting in June, man? Are we getting content, or are we just getting an announcement?
No, definitely not. We're waiting until the end of the year for that. Okay. I think potentially we could get a console update. We could get a console release within that time frame. Like, hey, it's coming to console in July. And then in November, which would kind of line up with all the console players kind of maybe moving through the storyline and getting to the end game before they know it sucks, they will get an update in November or October that hopefully reworks the end game. That's what I want to see. I want to see a console release maybe like July-ish, or like, you know, like something to keep the hype up. Like, or maybe they just say like at the Summer Games, New World is on console, available now, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Those updates. And then like in the November, they kind of tease like a rework to territory control and then a PvP island with swimming. Who gives a fudge about swimming? I don't. But it's fine, you know.
Well, I mean, it could lead to other cool content.
That's what
like
I want
it could lead to like ships and crazy stuff.
Ships would be dope.
And the lore and all that, it bodes itself well to having some of that stuff in there. It really does. It could 100%. Be sick. So
ships
we'll see.
And naval content would be dope for the game.
It'd be awesome.
I would not deny that. Yeah,
it'd be awesome.
We're not getting that this year.
No, I don't think so. I think we're just getting swimming, but it could be something to build upon in the future. I don't know. I'm still holding on to hope. If they ever change the end game and change territory control to be something that's actually fun and engaging, and then added some more, you know, company support for people. Because right now the only reason to have a company is if you're pushing territory, and it's like, you know, whatever, dude. So I would like to see more of that come into the game too, like more reason to have a company, you know, like a company bank, maybe like a I would love to see like a guild island type of situation at some point in the future, that everybody's working together. All those things are all on my list of hopium, but I don't think we're getting any of that in the June announcement. I just hope it's big. I hope it's something good. If it's not, then I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I want it to be. What I think it's going to be, most likely there will be a console update. And I do genuinely think that there will be some sort of Brimstone sized content. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it is a new island that is PvP oriented. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Depending on like to me, like the crafting system is already scuffed. It would be cool to see, like, let's get rid of this tier 5, tier 5.2 system. Let's go to tier 6. Remove, you know what I mean? And then let's put all the tiers. Did that, man. It was like they had one of the best crafting systems in an MMO, and then they messed it up in the expansion.
I don't know why there's two tier 5s. I don't know why there's two tier 5s. There's 2 cooldown mats. Like
cooldown mats. Yeah.
Remove the cooldown on Asmodeum and Phoenix Weave and all that. Like, I don't know why.
100% agreed. Yeah. It scuffed it.
I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. It's just convoluted now. And then move all the tier 6 stuff to that island. Fluff it. Lean into the PvP. If you think this is your game's future, then put all the tier 6 stuff over there and make sure you have to extract to get it out.
Well, that's the thing. That's the well, see, and there's the problem that I think they're having right now. I'm not so sure they they have a clear vision for what they want the future to be, which is where you get yourself into real trouble, right? Like, do you want this game to be a hardcore PvP game? Do you want to lean into that? Well, then if you do, then provide support for the wars, provide support to like add stuff to that system to make it better. And then the PvP island, like lean into that, but they haven't leaned into that. They haven't leaned into that at all. They've leaned into more of a sandbox PvE style MMO, but they're not adding things to support that either.
Features with no end game.
They're not adding stuff to support that either. The only thing they're adding is like these like hacked together modes, like the influence race, which sucked. I'm just going to call a spade here. All right. It was really fun for a little while, and now it's inherently flawed.
Good.
It's not good, man. It's inherently flawed. The open world PvP
is good. The execution's bad.
It was probably some of the most fun I've ever had in New World for the first couple weeks. But the problem is that the design of it is inherently flawed because of the way territory control works.
Exactly. The problem is the system. Yeah. It's not because I don't think, I don't know if you feel the same as I do. I don't think wars, like the actual 50v50 game mode of like competitive PvP, I don't think that's bad. I think that's fine. I think the system sucks.
Yeah, that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem. I'm all for more. I love freaking PvP in New World. It's fun. I will be definitely playing in the free for all island if that's what is there. If that's what comes to fruition. Like I'm all about it. I wish they had a clear vision, and it's very. I don't want to say very apparent because I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But as a player from the outside looking in, it does feel like
they don't have a vision.
That they don't, that they don't really know what they want the end game to be. They don't know. It's like they're floating between like, well, we don't want to destroy the PvP players that we have, and that's kind of one of the comments Scott made is like, well, we want to cater to those elite players, but we also want to cater to everybody else. It's like, man, listen, you gotta figure out what you want to do, and you gotta push in that direction. And you gotta then support those systems, or else it's just doomed, just like Crowfall. Like you gotta have a clear vision.
Well, that's anyway. Exactly. Well, no, what you're saying is accurate, and that's what we were that's what I was getting at earlier. Is you can there's ways to support your like competitive nature, like balancing around like the top 1% or 2% is fine. But if you don't support the other 98%, your game is dead. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have a player base to support your vision.
Yeah.
So like that's what I was getting at, like Diamond or Practice. Like there needs to be systems at end game for your other 98% of players that them feel rewarded to play, or that they feel like that's a good reason to log in. And New World doesn't have that right now. The fact that I, could log in today and have to run Lazarus for the 90,000th time as my end game loop as a PvE player is infuriating. So, they need to fix the PvE end game, and then they need to rework the PvP end game. New World could still be a massive MMO. I do believe that. You have tested a lot of people's patience at this point, so you do need to tread lightly and make sure that the decisions you're making are valid ones. But I still think the game can turn around, and that's I'm huffing a lot of hopium there, without a doubt.
I mean, I still think so too. The foundation is there. It's good. And then after playing through the story, it did give me hope for the future of the game, but I just hope they have a vision and they stick to it and make something happen, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, Red. I mean, we're what, month 4 weeks out from or something like that, 4.5 weeks out from the June announcement. I mean, we're close.
I don't know, what day is it? What day is
well, I don't know what day they're. It's the Summer Games Fest is either the 7th, 8th, or 9th. Like I don't know what day they're doing their announcement. I want to say they're doing it on the 7th, which is Friday, which is a Friday. So it's June the 7th is the first day of Summer Games Fest. So I don't know.
Okay, there it is.
It's close. I mean, it's gonna be here soon, and so we'll all know something in a month.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Unless they delay it again, but they can't.
No, they can't because it's at the Summer Games Fest. I think the reason they delayed. I think the reason they delayed from May until June anyway is so that they could announce it at the Summer Games Fest to try to draw the marketing hype and all that stuff, which is not a bad play. It's smart. It's just what to do in the meantime is a struggle. But we'll see.
Yeah, for the current players.
Yeah. I'm still excited. I'm still excited for the announcement. I want to know what it is. I'm excited. I'll be here for it. I'll still be playing New World. We'll see what happens.
Listen, man, we're fans of the game. We wouldn't be creating content around the game if we didn't like the game. We'd move on at this point. So I want the game. I think it should go without saying, but this is the internet and people don't use their minds here. We love the New World. I want the game to be successful. I just think that genuinely we're in tough times right now, and the team does have to be they have to be on point with the June update, or else the game might be in trouble.
Yeah,
genuinely.
Yeah,
like I feel that way.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see, man.
So hopefully it's not swimming and console, because
it's going to be something bigger than that.
The current player base is going to be infuriated.
Yeah.
So, all right, Bordy. Well, I guess that does it. It's good to be back with you again, my friend, doing the podcast. I enjoy podcasting with you. Shout out to Exter. You can use discount code BDLG to get how much off their wallet, Bordy?
Right now they're doing a spring sale until I think May the 15th. It's 25% off, and then you use the code BDLG to get another 5% off. So it's 30% off, man. It's crazy. The wallets are sick too, Brad. They're slick. They're nice. There's like a Parliament wallet.
Slick.
There's an aluminum wallet. Yeah, slick. Is that you don't like that word? I mean, listen, I'm an old man.
I mean, I just haven't heard it in a long time.
Yeah, look, we'll go ahead and plug it. This, if you're watching the video, here's the Parliament wallet. It's pretty sick. It holds cash and cards. Very nice. There is a little button here you press. Whenever you press this button, your cards come up. Pretty sick. It is very nice. Very nice. Holds up to 12 credit cards or 12 cards of your choosing. There's also a tracker you put in there. You can connect this to iPhone or Android and find your wallet if you need to. You just slide that in your wallet. And then there's the aluminum one, man. It's just a condensed down version of the Parliament wallet. This holds 12 cards as well. You slide it out just like that. Press that button. Goes in. They stay in there. They don't fall out. I thought they'd fall out. They don't. They're nice and secure. Very nice wallets, man. Yes, there it is. Use Exter. Great stuff.
Yeah, special thanks to Exter. And our community wants us to do this. This isn't New World related, but we are having a V Rising server. If the overlap in fan base likes New World and V Rising, we're gonna do V Rising launches March 8th. So we're gonna have a server join the Studio Loot Discord. It'll be in the show notes. And yeah, join and we're gonna have a 40-man server, four-man teams. So if you're interested, join us there.
It'll be super fun. Yep, we'll be playing that all next week, man.
All right. Well, there it is, Bordy.
Did you say March the 8th or May the 8th?
What'd I say?
I don't know. Somebody said you might have said March the 8th. It's May the 8th. May the 8th. So in 5 days, V Rising server goes live on the launch of 1.0.
All right, there we go. Fine. Yeah, May 8th.
Yeah. May 8th.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Go check out studioloot.com. All your New World guide needs are over there. We've got a revamp. Since we've done the podcast, we've everything has happened on the website. So we've revamped the look. There's even more content over there. So that's what we've been working on for everybody. Is like, where's the podcast? We've been busy on other things. So go check out studioloot.com if you want to see what we've been busy doing. Bordy, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. Again, I mean, I always feel like mixed after these podcasts because I feel like I ranted and like was hateful about the game, but well,
I mean, you kind of did, right?
It's fine. I'm being critical because I love it. You know what I mean? I love the game. If I didn't care about the game, I wouldn't talk about the game. Yeah. I'd just move on with my life.
Yeah, same.
So there it is. If you want the truth, excuse or not excuse, it's up to you to decide. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it and listening and whatever. We'll see you on the next episode, which won't be 3 months later from now. Right, Bordy?
Shouldn't
We're going to try to do this at least every other Wednesday.
I mean, we can commit to that, I guess. The only problem is we're not going to have a lot of information until
That's
June.
True.
So,
okay, the next episode will be when we get more information in June.
Yeah, or if we have something to talk about before then, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So completely undefined. We don't know when the next episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
It won't be. It'll be less than 3 months till the next episode. How about that? Is that a good
I think we can. Yeah, I think we can go with that.
All right. Less than 3 months later, we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.